Test, 1, 2, 3. Test, 1, 2, 3.
Do you want to move these back more? Or? Maybe a little bit. Okay, yeah. These tables.
Test, 1, 2, 3. Test, 1, 2, 3.
Is the audio? Oh, I'm on.
Just gonna test the audio. Everybody can hear me? Okay.
The only reason those mics are up there, it's not for speakers, it's for anybody who wants to ask a question. They're gonna, go to, one,
Yeah, well,
an obligated.
Screen and then started watch it later, showed it. Okay.
The return to normal is.
Well, I wouldn't say normal because this was new.
Yeah.
That's all new. That used to be year ago. Oh, you're right.
Now you mentioned it, yeah. I walked in the room. I think that looks different. But you're right, I remember that.
Yeah, and the lights along the wall. Just kind of taken down. And all the new speakers. All right, okay. All of them up there, and these couple on the ends, they're all, that's all part of the new system.
How are you?
Down there.
Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hey. Say crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You, emails?
First attempt to make a mic, but
Which one?
yeah.
I think I
Last
saw,
night. This earliest one,
I know I saw one from you. I just can't remember what it was.
something about, is it tomorrow morning? Or tomorrow morning or Thursday? This is Wednesday. Either tomorrow morning or Friday morning. Something at Draper Hall.
Oh, yeah. There's a press conference.
Yeah.
With the county.
Yes.
Yep, I should be there for that.
You don't have to, that's why I said,
I
that's why I
try.
sent it, just to,
Make sure that, yeah, no,
make sure you knew of it.
no, I appreciate it. They reached out, we were able to connect them with Jordan and those guys and make it work.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
It's gonna be on Zoom, you bet. Sure, that would be great.
Going on or whatever else. It's,
Yeah.
they're working with our school, social
They like
welfare
them.
school.
Oh, sure. You bet.
Yeah, it was, there wasn't too much detail there, but it was something,
So,
Accord, I think they called it.
Yeah, Accord.
Yeah.
It's the initiative of the county and the first responders, pairing up mental health providers with like the sheriff's department, et cetera.
okay,
Involves de-escalating situation. So they've been doing it for some
I
time
was
now.
gonna say, it can't have anything to do with last week or 2 weeks ago.
No, this has been ongoing. Matter of fact, there was a press event at the county building last year. Around this time, actually. A little bit later in the year, I guess.
okay. Looks like it's working good, Jeannie.
I said it can't be, it had to be something else because it said it was, follow up to it or, that it was follow up to what was going on. So I said, no, couldn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So I tried to get to that reunited. But I just couldn't.
Hi, Dan, hi. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome to the first hybrid meeting of CANA.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Hi, Dan. You just have to unmute yourself, my friend.
Hi, I forgot it was a real meeting at the library.
Yeah, how you doing, Dan? You got your camera?
I think so. Let's see, video. Yeah, I get the video's on. Well, it says it's on.
I don't see ya.
Might have to restart my computer again. All right, see it a little bit.
We're facing down.
There's a couple of tables with you sitting around.
Yeah.
And,
Hey, hi, Susan. How are you?
yeah, it wasn't YouTube shot. Me, it didn't look like- it didn't look like that.
Yeah, no, there was definitely, and then there was also some standing.
It's working.
But, you know, it was a diverse group. There probably was some students, there were some parents.
It's backwards. You were sitting on the left and you're up there on the right.
Decent number of neighbors. There were a
Same,
couple
same
of
thing
ones
happened
that
at the
was
cannabis meeting. Yeah, well, I didn't see the last minute, not very widely.
Oh, sorry.
Because it was last minute.
Yeah, they wanted to get it off the ground as soon as possible.
I don't think it was 2 days.
Yeah, it was 48 hours later, I think. But that being said, you know.
I'll just check. We're gonna do best thing. Hopefully you have.
The vitals, but you didn't want it to go citywide.
Yeah.
Because the venue wasn't large enough to accommodate, you know, a large audience too, because they wanted to focus in on the issues in that community. And so. No. That's so we were excited to get everything going.
Yes.
Install
No, I think you guys do great. That's the,
No, I think we were pretty open with the fact that, you know, obviously we knew there were students of ours in the area and that we were doing everything in our power to make sure that.
yeah.
It was on my line. There's places they shouldn't be there. You know, large gatherings, you know.
Yeah, that was a little touchy there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's ironic because the block below, it's really quiet. The block above, it's also really quiet. It's just that one freaking block.
Okay. There you are, Dan. There you are. Hi, Howie. Hi, Arlene. Hi, Pat.
Is that the block between Ontario and Quail?
Yes.
All right, agreed.
You just have to unmute yourself to say hi, everybody.
I'll take notes, for sure, and Zach is gonna give me the recording, so I can share out to you. That's president, and we'll figure it out further, so, I'm here for you.
Here's Pat. Hi, Pat.
Ken, how we doing? Keith is over here.
Yeah.
Ken?
Well, it's all kids.
No.
It's all kids.
Yeah.
Say, Zach.
Yes, sir.
The only person I can hear is you. I can't really hear anybody else. I hear the distant voices.
Yep. So everybody that's in the second row of tables, they have to use a handheld microphone when they're going to say comments. The people in the front row, there's microphones on the table, so that will pick up anybody here in the front row.
Dan, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But funny thing, I can see there's a delay between what I say and what ends up on the screen there. That's kind of funny.
Technology. I love it. Hi, Arlene. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you doing? Where are you?
You know where we are. Good. Good to see everybody. Hey, Dan, can you hear me here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Hi, Howie. You gotta unmute yourself.
It was on the news. I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Zach.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's nice to see people back in person.
Yes.
Are there a lot of
Absolutely.
people in the room? Are you going to do an intro? Who's in the room?
Actually, we could do a quick intro. Hey, folks. Hey, folks, do you want to just do a quick intro with the microphone in the second row? Yep, we'll start the meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luke Rumsey. I'm the Director of Community Relations at the University of Albany.
Keith Irish is sitting here. You know, everybody should know me.
Hello, I'm Ken Lozier, the coordinator for off-campus student services at the University of Albany.
Colin McKnight, Mansion.
Appreciate Supreme Cavey, Park South.
Charlene Schaefer, Albany, Normanskill.
Tom Morelli, and I'm from the Buckingham Lake Neighborhood Association.
Great. Okay, how about on Zoom? Let's have a, want to start with Dan?
Hi, Dan Van Riper, Lincoln Park Neighborhood Association.
Okay, Arlene?
Arlene Way, Arby Hill Development Corporation.
Okay, Howie?
Howard Stoll, Melrose Neighborhood.
Hey, Pat?
I am Pat Maxon from the Upper Washington Avenue Neighborhood Association.
Hey, all right, Jacqueline?
Jacqueline Kane, the North Albany Neighborhood Association.
Great. Hey, Susan?
Hi, Susan Noiso. I live in the Melrose neighborhood. First time attending.
Great. All right, Kelly?
Hi, everybody. Kelly Hauser from Beverwick.
Okay. We got a couple more. Louise?
Hi, Louise McNeely from Sheridan Hollow and Delaware Area Neighborhood Associations.
Great. How about Lynn? Sure, she's connecting with audio. Michelle? Oh, she's on audio. Okay. Okay. Why don't we get the meeting started, everyone? Welcome to the September 7th, 2022 Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations meeting. I'm Zach Simpson, the CANA chair. It's been a while since we've been in person tonight, and tonight is our very first hybrid meeting ever. So hopefully we won't have any issues tonight. And I'm really excited about being back in person and having us have the option for hybrid. I do see we have a couple of members of the Albany Police on. Officer Webster, do you have a public safety update for us tonight?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't make it there tonight. I'll just go over a few statistics for you guys. So it's been quite a busy summer. We've had a lot of issues with robbery, burglary, and motor vehicles being stolen. So I'm just going to go over a few stats right to date. So today we have had 166 robberies. That's up 44% from last year. Stealing property, which is different from burglary, which is burglary is entering and remaining unlawfully and committing a crime therein. So burglary is basically somebody breaking in your house, and a robbery is somebody stealing property from you using force, be it intimidation or physical harm. So up 44% for the year. It's rather concerning. Also, burglary is up 66% this year at 378 compared to last year. I think the reason for that statistic is last year we were still COVID. People were working from home. So I think now we're getting more daytime burglaries because people have gone back to work. And it might be getting right back to around the number where it used to be before COVID. But the biggest one, and we discussed this before the summer, was stolen vehicles, which is really high. 315 to date, and that's up 62% from last year. And I mean, the 5-year average is 157. So it's people are just leaving their keys in the car. I mean, the 5 I've seen that we had in the last week, every one of them, keys were in the car, keys were in the car, keys were in the car. So that is something that can be avoided. And last but not least, I'm going to go over some of the shooting statistics. We've been having a lot of issues in the last couple of weeks at Pine Hills area, and we are diverting a lot of our resources and attention to that. Hold on, if I can get to that page. At this point, we have made 70 Hold on, give me one sec. I gotta find it. I want to get the numbers right. We have taken 111 guns off the street this year. That's up 44%, that's good news. 77 gun arrests. That's up 22% this year. So that's one thing. Our shooting incidents are pretty much the same as last year at this time, statistically. But we've had a few things that have hit the news, and I'm sure you guys all know about. But so yeah, Pine Hills is our area of concentration right now. We're having a lot of issues, Pine Hills, with late night parties and things like that on the weekends. And the commanders have put out several details, large amount of officers for this weekend, the last couple weekends. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, that starts to slow down. So that's all I got for now. If anybody has any questions, I got to save something for next month.
Anybody have any questions?
How many shootings have there been? Do you know that?
Yes, I do. Just turn the page. Here we go. 72 victims have been shot. There's been 57 shooting incidents to date. 57 incidents, 72 victims.
Wow.
And that's 2022. We actually have 156 confirmed shots fired calls and 81 unfounded. So that 156 is literally right on point with where we were last year at this time. And our victims are up 7% this year.
Howie?
Yeah. So about the shooting at the Pine Hills party.
Questions?
Yes. A question about the shooting at the Pine Hills party. The Times Union brought up the fact that like I guess 12 tickets were issued and there were no arrests. I was wondering if you can comment on that.
Well, as far as I know, the tickets are the GCO tickets written for loud music or open containers and things like that. They are not arrestable offenses. They're violations. So, and with bail reform, we can only make custodial arrests on certain things now. So that would make sense that we had a lot of tickets written. They're probably appearance tickets to appear in court.
Okay. Any other questions for Albany Police Department or any updates? Any further updates? Okay. Just gotta use the microphone. Hold on one second.
Good evening.
Hi.
This is Appreciate Freedom today. I just had a quick question.
Can you hear her?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm a resident of Park South and a property owner in the south end of Albany. I just had a quick question about the filling of the anti-violence coordinator position with the Albany Police Department. I was on a board with DCJS for the Division of Criminal Justice Services with the former anti-violence coordinator. And I was just wondering, how is the recruitment for the new anti-violence coordinator going?
Okay, so I don't really know much about that position. Any positions that we have are usually posted on the City Hall website. So that's not something I would know about. That would be more of a supervisor question. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good answer for you on that one.
Okay. Was there, I thought I saw a question. Oh, there's one more question. Okay, hold on one second.
Hi, I'm Charlene Schaefer. The recent problems with the Pine Hills area, especially the shootings, are these college students or local riffraff?
From the stats that I have seen, none of the victims were college students. On that 6-person shooting, none of them were. There was one college student that got nicked, I think, and that college student was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I do believe that the majority is locals.
Yeah, I can confirm that. This is Luke Rumsey from the University of Albany. So far, of the 3 shooting incidents that we're aware of in Pine Hills this year, we did have an 18-year-old that was grazed. The first shooting incident on Washington and Quail, that was the weekend of August 21st. During the mass shooting that occurred, where 6 people were injured, the following weekend, none of our students were involved. And then the shooting that happened this past weekend on Elberon, our students were not involved.
Thank you, Luke. All right. Okay. Okay, we have time for one more question. Marcia? Just gotta unmute yourself, Marcia.
Sorry, I know I got on here late and you may have covered this already, but it's really distressing to think about the numbers of kids who have nothing to do and no place to go. I don't know that a lot of them are bad kids, but what can the city do? What can we do to combat the bad behavior, the fact that they have, what are kids to do nowadays? I mean, a ton of bars that used to be down there are closed. What can the city do? I can't imagine.
That's a very good question. I don't really know if I like it.
Hey, Kevin.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can arrest ourselves out of that problem. Unfortunately, arresting our way out of problems is, I think, old school policing, and it's just not going to happen anymore. But I know I would love to come up with some kind of plan to divert young people's attention to doing something other than something violent. But yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that.
Well, is the city thinking? I mean, who's working on this problem? It's not new.
I don't know. I don't know what the city is planning. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Well, are the police working with the mayor to come up with something? I mean, we can't be the only city that faces this kind of issue.
Is there an elected on the call or no?
Not yet, no.
I think this problem we're having right now is happening in a lot of cities. It's not just Albany. So I don't know what we could do differently. We have for the police department, we have the Police Athletic League, which we offer to all ages, for basketball leagues, anywhere from basketball to lacrosse to volleyball to after school programs. We have a cadet program for if our youth want to get in to learn about policing and get involved in that, and they can get paid for it. So we have a lot of things that we're offering, and people are taking advantage of it, but
not for college kids.
No.
So folks, we can take, I'm sorry, we're gonna take one more question, then we have to move on to our first presenter, Michelle. Just gotta mute yourself, Michelle.
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't know if it's, I guess I have trouble believing that it's not that things don't have, that the kids don't have anything to do. It's they don't want to do it. You know, the students, the colleges have a lot of programs going on, non-alcoholic based programs. And I don't know, yeah. So the kids are shooting each other. You know, that just doesn't seem I don't think it's that things aren't, there's nothing to do. It's just they're getting involved in they're getting the wrong messages from their parents or lack of parenting or whoever. It just seems to me, I don't know. They got to get involved in something, but it's not that the city can't force them to get involved in something. They have to do that on their own. That's all.
No, I agree.
Okay, well, thank you to the Albany Police Department, as always, for coming to CANA. I appreciate it. We are going to welcome our first speaker tonight. Her name is Jeannie Orr. She is Program Manager for the Capital District Tobacco-Free Communities, and I'm just going to start her presentation for her here.
Want me to stand here or do you want me to?
Just give me 1 second here. Okay. think you're good to go. I think you just click forward with either this or the space
Okay.
bar maybe.
All right, great. The space bar probably works.
There's your microphone.
All right, thank you. Great, thank you so much for having me. As you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking about health equity in tobacco, the facts, the challenges, and how you can help. And the presentation, as you'll see, will talk about how tobacco addicts and kills people, certain populations more than others, and why and what can we do about that. First, a little bit about me. I'm the program manager for Capital District Tobacco-Free Communities, which is funded by the New York State Department of Health Tobacco Control Program. And our goal is not to do direct cessation help, although that is very important. And if you have a need for that, I have resources here with me I can provide for you. But our goal is to work on the environment. How can we change the environment so that smokers are more likely to quit, that young people are less likely to start, and that we reduce exposure to secondhand smoke. So why are we talking about tobacco? I mean, you were just talking to the police officer about all the other issues, and there are lots of them that concern neighborhoods right now. Tobacco is an important one because, as you can see by this graph, tobacco kills more people than all these other factors combined. And it's really been hard to get the attention of people because people think everyone knows that smoking is bad. It's fine, you know, we're over it. But we're not, obviously we're not over it because it's still a leading cause of death and disease. It affects almost every part of the body. And it is extremely addictive, more addictive than heroin. Okay. So first I'm going to start with a bit of good news and just a landscape of what's happening right now. As you can see by this graph, the red line is cigarette use by high school students. It's gone way down. It's at 2.4%, which is the lowest it's ever been. And the green line there, it's other tobacco products like cigarillos and smokeless products and hookah. And that's also decreased. But you'll see the blue line represents all tobacco products together. And that yellow line there, the e-cig line, just kind of bumped it up. And so that tobacco use in general is almost the same in 2000 and 2000 and I think that's 18.
I'm sorry, your slides are not advancing.
Oh.
We're not seeing the graph.
Ah, okay. I'll leave that to Zach to fix.
Okay, hold on one second. Do you see which graph do you see right now?
That's more like it.
I see it. Good news, kind of, on youth tobacco use.
Okay, so he said good news on tobacco use. He didn't say
Okay,
the right one.
all right, I'll monitor.
Okay. All right.
Graph do you see right now? Okay.
All right, ready? Okay, great. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a decline between 2020 and 2021, which is great news, but 21, 22, it's been, as you know, unusual last couple of years, so we don't know where it's gonna go from here. Okay, advance. Okay, now it's not advancing. It's not advancing. Issues.
Hold on. You're clicking here?
Oh, no, I was doing this. Just click that. Okay. So I guess that's what I need to click to advance it. All right,
Okay,
great.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
use that one.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, thank you. And this shows for adults, again, good news. It's at 12% for New York State for adults, which is the lowest it's been in a very long time. But the other two graphs you see there with education and income, you can see that there is still a disparity. People who with less than a high school education smoke at about 4 times the rate of those with a college degree. And those with making less than 25,000 smoke at about 2.5 times those making 75,000 or more. Oh boy. Go, go. Why is it not advancing?
That's okay.
Oh, you have to go like that. I see. Okay. All right, great.
Yep.
And there are also disparities with sexual orientation, people who are LGB, and it says LGB, not LGBTQ plus, because that's just the study population that they used. They also smoke at about 1.5 times the rate of those who are heterosexual. And people with mental, says on here, poor mental health, report poor mental health are also about twice as likely to smoke. And people with serious mental illness are much more likely to smoke and actually are more likely to die as a result of tobacco-related disease than their mental health disorder. And then the disparities don't stop there with tobacco use. It's actually also an exposure to secondhand smoke. Non-smokers who are non-Hispanic Black are twice as likely to be exposed to secondhand smoke than those who are non-Hispanic White. And the same goes for income. Those below poverty are about twice as likely to be exposed to secondhand smoke than those who are above poverty. Okay, so what is happening here? Why is all this happening and what can we do about it? Why are certain populations more likely to smoke? Why are certain populations exposed to more secondhand smoke? And we believe a lot of that has to do with the environment, as we talked about. And the environment is many different things. It's where we play. Tobacco-free parks and playgrounds really have a role as well. Think, well, it's the outdoors, but actually smoking does impact people outdoors. And you think about who uses parks, people who, everyone does, but also mostly I think people, or not, maybe not mostly, but a lot of people depend on it. People who don't have means of transportation to, say, state parks, or don't have the means to join a gym or do something else like that, that they use parks, and it should be accessible for everyone. So in the city of Albany, they actually in 2014 passed a law limiting smoking in parks, but it's a smoking of tobacco products. And then the state this year, because of the legalization of marijuana, passed a law that goes into effect October 13th that does not allow smoking of cannabis in parks, municipal parks. But it does not address vaping of tobacco or cannabis. So vaping is excluded both by the city law and by the state law. And but the county grounds are actually covered by covering both smoking and vaping. So there's a mixture. It's confusing, but cities can adopt policies that go beyond what the state says, and actually several places have done that. They include vaping and smoking of cannabis, tobacco, any kind of product, so that there isn't confusion. Because the reason we adopt tobacco-free parks and vape-free places is to reduce secondhand smoke exposure, also aerosol exposure, because that also contains a lot of cancer-causing products, to reduce litter. And a lot of kids are using these disposable e-cigarettes now, which are probably more toxic even than cigarette butts, to provide positive role modeling. It's really hard to tell if someone's smoking or vaping when you're far away. So that, again, and then it supports tobacco-free living for people who want to quit, and people who have asthma. That whole exposure is terrible. And majority of people actually support tobacco-free and vape-free parks. Okay. Another place we look at is the workplace. The Clean Indoor Air Act actually eliminated smoking in indoor places, including bars and restaurants in New York in 2003, but it doesn't cover the grounds. And you see it happening all the time. People congregate in ways, and when people, it triggers asthma, triggers people who are trying to quit, all of that. So we're focusing, because we're looking at the disparities, on places that serve people living in poverty, who are LGBTQ, African Americans, family-friendly businesses, places that are going to help reduce that disparity. Of course, we want everyone to quit, but we really want to make sure we're focusing on the right population. And smoke-free housing, this is where we live. You know, it's kind of crazy that we can no longer smoke at work, but you go home and you could be completely exposed to secondhand smoke, not due to anything that you are doing in your home. Over 80% of people do not allow smoking in their home, but if you live in multi-unit housing, that rule doesn't really work, because if your neighbor is smoking, that seeps through the cracks, the ventilation, the electrical lines, all of that. So a lot of places have gone smoke-free, and actually Albany County passed a law last year that required all common areas in multi-unit housing to be smoke-free, just the common areas, but then also 10 feet from ventilation intake outside, so windows, places like that. But it didn't cover units, but that's something that a lot of places have done voluntarily. And actually, public housing went completely smoke-free in 2018. Albany Housing Authority actually did it before HUD placed the mandate in 2018. They did it in 2016. That's what this We Are Free to Breathe is about. They had a campaign and chose to provide smoke-free housing for their residents, because really everyone deserves to breathe smoke-free air in their homes. A lot of market rate luxury places have gone smoke-free on their own. The smoking rate, of course, is lower in those populations, but a lot of affordable housing has not. And even though HUD passed this rule, it does not cover places like Section 8 housing. They can do it voluntarily, but they don't have to, but we're encouraging them to. So if you know of anyone who has housing, who wants assistance going smoke-free, we help with all of that, providing assistance and sample leases and all of that. Okay, so the last environment I want to talk about is the retail environment. And this is a study that we did in 2016. It's using 2010 census. I've actually redone this graph for 2020. It shows a similar type of trend. We're looking at licensed tobacco retailers per 1,000 residents at the density of tobacco retailers, places that sell tobacco. And then on the bottom is the poverty rate in certain zip codes in Albany County. And as you can see, the places with the highest poverty rates generally have the highest density of tobacco retailers. It's so very clear by this graph, like 10 times more in 12207 than in 12054, which is Del Mar. And we think that matters. It's not just a matter of how many, more here than there. It's what you see impacts what your environment is like and how kids respond, especially. Because 90% of smokers started before the age of 18. 99% started before 26. So if you don't start as a young person, then you're probably not going to start. So if you want to know how the tobacco industry, I'm not talking about the little retailers, but actually the big corporations like Philip Morris and the other players they go, you just follow the money, where they put their money. And it's in the retail market. They spend more than $500,000 every day in New York to market in stores that sell tobacco. And that is a huge, huge part of their budget. Let me see if I can find the exact number here. It's actually, I believe like 95% of their budget, the marketing budget, goes towards marketing in stores. And the research shows that the more tobacco marketing people see, the more likely they are to start smoking. And now they can't have billboards because there have been some laws that were passed against that, but the tobacco displays serve as billboards. And you can see that there are all kinds of products, lots of menthol. If you look at the lower-income neighborhoods, we made a comparison, and there's more menthol cigarettes that are advertised, which are more addictive and easier to start with. There are more really cheap flavored cigars, videos. There are more discount stores that sell tobacco at a discounted price. So it's not only more tobacco marketing, but more accessible tobacco in these lower income neighborhoods. And there is more likely to smoke. And these are just pictures we took in the city of Albany outside, so you don't have to go inside the stores to see. So what are we doing about it? One thing we're doing, and there's a flyer back there, is called There's Nothing Just About Menthol. It's a campaign that's run statewide. And you see this quote by Deborah Brown Johnson from the Albany NAAC. For decades, the tobacco industry has been targeting African Americans, contributing to the skyrocketing rates of heart disease, stroke, and cancer across our community. The tobacco industry is on a narrow quest for profit, and they have been killing us along the way. And some people might think, what's the big deal about menthol? It's just menthol. Menthol, as you know, smooths the throat. It makes it easier to take in. And actually, it's been shown that people draw in the smoke deeper when they use menthol cigarettes, so you get more addicted to it. And young people are more likely to start with a flavored product. The FDA actually banned all other cigarette flavors back in 2009, but then retracted menthol because of the industry lobbying. So there are still menthol cigarettes out on the market, and that's more, young people are more likely to start with a menthol cigarette than a regular cigarette. And as you can see here on this graph, in 1952, only 5% of African Americans used menthol cigarettes, and now it's over 82%. And if you compare it to other races, much more in the African American community. And they have been targeted. We actually know of someone who lives in the South End who told us about when she was a young person, a van went through her neighborhood giving out free menthol cigarettes. And that's how her mother got addicted and actually died of lung cancer. And beyond menthol cigarettes, there are also these flavored products everywhere. And, you know, when you first look at it, it looks like fruit roll-ups or something, and they are fruit flavored, you know, little cigars are 3 for $1, very, very inexpensive and very accessible to young people. And 80% of young people who use tobacco started with the flavored product. And so it's, again, really important to look at not just menthol, but all flavored products, because that has been hooking kids. I'm going to go back. Just talk a little bit about menthol and flavored products. You may have heard the FDA is looking at that. They're looking to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored products like these, but it's at the starting process. They're getting comments from people, and the tobacco industry is undoubtedly going to be suing. It's going to take a long time. So it's really up to communities to speak up and do something locally rather than just wait for the federal government to do something. And because all of this impacts young people, we do youth engagement as well. We invite young people to speak up, to educate legislators. I know Senator McDonald's here, we visited him and Fahey as well. It's so good to see you both, and they're great supporters of the work that we do. And she's actually up there on the picture. There we go. Yeah. It's really important for young voices, as you probably all know, to be involved in this. So if you know young people who want to get involved, we do a lot of training and advocacy and education, and being able to really stand up for what you believe and make community change in that way. So how can you help? You can help educate your communities by inviting them to connect with us. You can take some, if you have connections to landlords, business owners, groups, please let us know. We'd love to get connected to them. If you have a family member or a friend who has a story like the woman I told you about, whose mother died of lung cancer, she has been a wonderful partner in the community talking about her experience. We would love to get connected to them as well. And I know a lot of you are probably connected to a lot of organizations, whether it's through your work or through other organizations you're involved in the community. We'd love to get connected to their social media person or to a director, anyone that we can also continue to educate about this issue, because you know, we believe that it takes a lot of hands to make change. And it is difficult to get the people who are most impacted by tobacco use to get involved in what we do because they have a lot of things going on. They don't have transportation, or they're trying to, make the next rent payment. So often it does fall to people who are very involved in the community to get involved as well. So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Yes, I have a question then. Hello?
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Am I being heard? Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
About, I guess it was about 3 years ago when our county legislator, Sam Fine, was being reelected. I think it was about the same time that the county was talking about banning menthol cigarettes. He represents our district like 12202 and part of North Albany, or at least he has been until the redistricting is going on. He was very much in favor of banning menthol cigarettes, but he was being hit by a number of his constituents who were really opposed to the banning of it. These were basically Black folks, and there was a feeling that this was targeting them, that it was a racist sort of thing. They were banning the menthols, which Black people like, but they weren't going after the white people cigarettes. That was what he was being hit with, and he was feeling very uncomfortable about this. So I just wonder if you could address that sort of thing, that problem.
Yes. Actually, we're very aware of a lot of people who are actually being paid by the tobacco industry, including Reverend Al Sharpton, to actually talk about this being, I guess, racist against Black people. But it's actually a product that's killing Black people at higher rates, even though they smoke less. They're dying more of smoking. So it's really disingenuous of the tobacco industry to be paying people to perpetuate something that's killing half the people who use it. So it is something, it's a concern, I know, because people talk about Eric Gardner and other things that have happened, but what the federal government, what they're trying to do is just stop the production of characterized menthol cigarettes. It's not going to go to users at all. It's not going to, someone who has a menthol cigarette is not going to be pulled over and say, hey, you've got a menthol cigarette. It's at the sale level. It's not at that level of a consumer. Does that answer your question? And
Yeah, it actually does. To hear that Sharpton is has been paid to tell folks that, okay.
Yep,
and so there's a lot more besides Sharpton, I take it.
There are. There's like Noble, there's like Black police officers who have also been enlisted to have, sort of convey the talking points of the tobacco industry. But there's also the African American Tobacco Leadership Conference that's been working on this issue for years. And these are public health professionals who are African American who have dedicated their lives to getting rid of menthol. And they were very disappointed in 2009 when the FDA decided, because of industry pushback, to take menthol out of the picture and say it's okay to have menthol cigarettes. So it's really the opposite. Why are all the other flavors out, but the flavor that is addicting African Americans is still on the market? Is it okay to kill more African Americans? Of course, no. No is the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Colin, you got to use the microphone.
Okay, great. The announcement, I think, was yesterday about the settlement of lawsuits against Juul with some sort of a fund being set up. Is New York a party to that lawsuit? And if so, is there any information out yet about creative ways that the proceeds of that lawsuit will be used to fight kids getting addicted?
Yeah, I'm not sure if New York is part of that. It's possible because obviously New York was very much affected by it. But I hope if we do get settlement that we do use it towards prevention and helping young people who are addicted right now to e-cigarettes to quit. But in past history, the master settlement agreement, which was against the tobacco industry, all of that money kind of went to a mush pot and did not get sent out to tobacco prevention, which is a shame because it's a lot of money that the state took in and continues to take in, but it does not go towards public health. So I think that's something that you could speak out about if that's the case. I'll find out though, and I'll pass that along if New York is part of that Jewel settlement. Mhm.
37 states, but you turned down the new question. All right. I think that's all for questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeannie, for presenting the CANA. We appreciate it. Okay. So folks, up next, we have Assembly members Pat Fahey and John McDonald here to talk to us about what's going on down at the New York State Capitol this year. They do have a presentation I'm going to pull up just momentarily.
While you're doing that, you want us to do a.
Yeah, you got to use the microphones though.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. I know it's already a long meeting, but thank you for having us, Zach. Thank you for the invite. I know more people are on the screen, so I hope they can somewhat see us. But we're
first find out, can you hear us?
Yeah. And Zach asked us to speak for about 20 minutes. Between the two of us, and I know you're already a little bit behind schedule, and I don't know who's worse, John or I, but we can barely say hello in 20 minutes between the two of us. So, so he's given us a challenge. We have a PowerPoint that on the budget, which just seems, we're already talking now about the upcoming budget. So this seems out of date. So maybe what we thought is we would just flip through this very quickly and then talk about a couple of other issues to really stir up questions to try to give more time for questions.
Zach has already indicated he's going to email out the presentation so you could look at it. You know, I'm sure you'll be up all night waiting for it. An email, but a lot of it, we're halfway through the year. It's all good stuff, but we'd rather engage and answer some of your questions. And we have some Albany specific bills we want to talk about.
So can I ask one thing? Just give me a thumb up to move with the next slide because I'm bad at that.
Oh, I see. Okay, so yes, go ahead and move to the next slide. So just there's a couple of highlights and maybe we'll tag team for a moment here, but we're really going to try to whiz past this because so much of this is, you know, already we're getting some bad news about next year, right? Whether there's a recession. This morning we started with, you know, New York City is 10 billion in the hole already. And you know, as we're always reminded, when New York sneezes, the entire state catches the cold. So some of this budget, this was a lot of COVID money and ARPA money from the feds that really helped us this year. But just very quickly, lots of money into small business. Alcohol to go, I personally thought made a lot of sense because it helps small business. I'm on the next slide already, Zach.
Yes.
The environmental bond, that's coming up this November. Given how the election goes, that could be tough, but those are lots of investments into local communities. So I do personally support that. I think I can speak for both of us.
Yep.
Record-setting money into education foundation aid. As you know, some enrollments have dropped though, and that's going to have an impact this year. Bail, happy to take any questions on bail. Yes. I think everybody's the short answer for me is everybody talks past each other. We are going to have to talk again. It's like education law, right? Every year we go back at it. That's the way I look at bail reform. We have to go back at it where we see the nuances and the details of where we need to fix matters. And then I'm just going to, I think we'll just mention the highlights, right? Transportation, record-setting money in transportation. We're really
once again,
Hold on, everybody.
We're not seeing the side presentation.
Okay, we're on transportation.
Give me a sec, everybody. Did everybody see transportation?
Yes.
Yes. I was really, the other one was overarching highlights.
Sorry, everybody. I'm going to send it out to everybody after the meeting. So, okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, transportation, record-setting investments to fill those potholes and do transit. Next one, John, I don't want to dominate this. So small business, go ahead.
In the small business taxes and jobs, there was a lot of money set aside to give credits to small businesses through Empire State Development, homeowner tax rebate credit, which many would have received by now. And And then, of course, we continued for the 7th year now, lowering the tax rate for your income tax. Now, to be honest with you, it's cost us billions of dollars a year, but many people don't even know what their tax rate is. So it's one of those things where it's the right thing to do, even though you don't realize you're getting it. Kind of like car wax in a car wash. Next slide. In healthcare, there's been a significant investment. We really have to prop up our hospitals and our nursing homes. We're doing that with capital money, but we're also doing it in regards to the healthcare worker bonus, which unfortunately has gotten off on the wrong foot from a messaging standpoint. We'll talk about that later.
And that is definitely a big budget issue where we've heard they're diverting people from our ERs, our local ERs, whether it's Albany Med, St. Peter's. We have a serious, healthcare is another perennial issue.
Well, we've also done, in whether it's the OPWD population, the mental health population, those people who are working frontline, we're trying to help raise that minimum wage. And we've done bonuses for them over a multi-year period. Next. Education, we're going to skip right over because the education community has nothing to complain about. They, whether it's
record setting
from
again.
UPK to K-12 to college, as you know, 75 million to SUNY Albany. It's only a project Pat and I have been working on for the last 6-7 years. It's all good stuff. I shouldn't say anything to complain about, but more importantly, we finally made some significant changes to TAP, which helps every student.
Part-time. So part-time, that's the big news. Environment, we already addressed to some degree. There's much, much more, as you know, locally. We have the single biggest wind energy project in the country down on Long Island, which is also including the Albany Port. That's tied up in some litigation right now and other problems, but we try not to lose sight of the fact that that is part of the single biggest wind energy project in the country, but that more to be continued in addition to these dollars. Go ahead.
Housing.
Housing, you know, we're already going to revisit that. We've put, again, record-setting monies in. We have a housing crisis. There's no denying it. Rents are through the roof. There isn't a tenant. We have many upset tenants, but I don't think we have a single landlord in the entire state who isn't upset with some of our changes. We have a lot of work there.
One of the last things, childcare. Childcare, long overdue, very good news. Significant investment over a multi-year period, about $7 billion over 4 years in a variety of different ways. One is to help childcare operations to get the capital needs they need to get doors open, particularly in childcare deserts, which Albany, Cohoes, Troy are classic childcare deserts. Also, raising the eligibility for families. Family of 4 up to $80,000 a year now is eligible for subsidy to help with affording childcare, because that's been part of the challenge. And much more. There's just a whole litany, but from a lot of us, the perspective, childcare is economic development.
Yes.
Because it's allowing people to get to work, to continue their careers, which has been interrupted. But same token, get that child in a quality STAR program to get them prepared to be successful in education.
This one, the slots aren't available, but this is the one where most families are going to feel this because the subsidies are that generous, if you will, in terms of helping middle income and even upper income, obviously low income families. So that's a big one. Local and capital, again, we welcome questions. Sorry, talk to the mic. We welcome questions on any of this, but we sent out a separate PowerPoint and maybe we'll mail that out as well. All of you have heard a lot about Wadsworth Labs, right? This has been an 8-year fight, if you will. Governor is the former governor proposed consolidating those, then withdrew the money we had the big fight over where to locate them. We were a major success in keeping them in Albany. The problem is with that success, Harriman campus, as you know, is completely disconnected from Albany. So now we are, all year we have been trying to have the conversation with the new governor's office to say it's not enough just to rebuild and reclaim the status of world-class labs. This is the time to undo the damage that was done with the design of the Harriman campus. So we are trying to really work with 5 different state agencies to get them to focus on reconnecting Harriman, the eastern end of Harriman, to Albany, such that we don't see it, a rebuild of labs, trying to attract world-class talent and seeing them go up to Clifton Park to buy their homes. Nothing against Clifton Park, but those are Albany jobs. We want to see this benefit the city of Albany. Go ahead, John, if you want to do the next one.
Obviously, the city of Albany received an increase of to $15 million in its capital city funding, which is helpful to the city's operations and its taxpayers. And finally, we've come to an agreement on trying to reimagine 787. Now, honestly, Pat has been pushing this for 5 years. I've been talking to her about it because it was mostly solely focused at the original part on just a boulevard in downtown Albany, which sounds attractive, except if you represent people coming from Bethlehem and Rensselaer County in northern Albany County. Working together, we actually went from $1 million for Pat's request to $5 million to take a much more expansive view of all of 787, starting in Green Island down to Albany, and look at a variety of different options, but also to be more inclusive of trying to rediscover our canal systems. And this is really, I think, what will make it into not only a great benefit of reconnecting the neighborhoods in Albany, which we both support, but more importantly, making the city of Albany a premier destination, which benefits the region.
And this was, for me, this has been a multi-year effort, getting that investment so that we can reimagine. There are 3 major proposals, if you will, trying to take down or repurpose parts of 787, whether it's those access roads, whether it's the arterial road, whether it's some of the ramps, even boulevarding some of it. But I'm also one who likes the idea of a land bridge. If any of you can think of Penn's Landing in Philadelphia, if you think of Chicago going over the railroad tracks with Millennial Park, there's multiple examples of where it's added green space going over. It's pedestrian, it's multi-use green space going over. So even if you boulevarded tomorrow, we still have a pedestrian issue, which they've encountered repeatedly in Cohoes. So that's one approach. The canal approach, especially if we're talking about reinvesting in Central Warehouse, the canal, unearthing that Lock 1 along Central Warehouse is part of really making Albany a destination point apart. So between Wadsworth / Harriman and 787, these are the really future focused proposals anyway, happy to take questions on those. And
let me just add, those start in Albany, but they really have a large economic regional benefit, which I think should not be lost. Pat mentioned earlier, she passed over, but kudos to her. A lot of hard work on the alcohol to go. It's been her passion. I've been a nice steady second hand on that one. And then conversely, she's been a great partner with me on 3 bills that we have pending before the governor. One specifically addresses the city of Albany. And for those who are landlords and those who are tenants and those who side with both, important legislation. The city of Albany, not every community does this, Cohoes did it, has an ROP, a residential occupancy permit, for a unit to be rented. At the request of the mayor, I introduced legislation which Pat supported and Neil Breslin, and it's going to the governor, that if an eviction proceeding is to start in the city of Albany, that residential occupancy permit has to be submitted with the original paperwork. That basically says this apartment was inspected and good to go when that tenant took occupancy. And that's good for the tenant, it's good for the landlords. But as the mayor will tell you, about 40% of the properties don't have permits. So that is going to probably slow down some evictions, but it's also a good message for landlords that if you didn't get the ROP, hurry up and get it, because it's city law. You're supposed to do it in the first instance. Second bill is unique situations. It's more for upstate New York, but Albany is not immune to this. It's already been law in New York City and Rockland and Westchester County. There are times when, for whatever reason, a property owner is just gone on multiple residential dwellings. Think of a 4-unit or 6-unit. And something could happen. The property manager, the owner is in a nursing home, they go back to their homeland and around for a year, and there are life safety code issues that don't immediately cause the evacuation of the building, but do make it a very difficult situation where there needs to be a repair. This bill allows for what's called a receivership, where the city can petition the courts to put that building in receivership, usually with a housing nonprofit, to continue to collect the rents and make the repairs that the code department's looking for on a residential unit. And once those repairs are done, that building, judge signs off, the judge monitors the whole thing, and it comes out of receivership. It's really meant not to disrupt tenants' lives, because there's a lot of times people will shoulder through these properties when they really shouldn't be, because they're really not habitable. And then the final one, which actually, if we had it 10 years ago, and this has been something I've been fighting for since I came into the assembly, we finally got it through the assembly and the Senate, allows for a new edition of the general municipal law that allows local governments to take title to commercial and industrial properties after the landlord or the owner has violently and flagrantly ignored warnings after warnings after warnings on the properties. We did this, we celebrated this a couple of years ago in the South End when we passed it for residential properties.
Right.
There's a very specific due notification process. So the owner, anybody who has an interest, a financial interest in the property, is duly notified with several months of time to make the necessary repairs. But the city also has to, in the same parallel path, document very closely what the issues are. You can't just say there's weeds growing, we're taking this building. It's got to be something where the building has become a blight. We don't want to lose our historic structures in this city or in any city, because this is statewide legislation. So we're hoping the governor looks favorably upon it. And that's it for me.
So I hope that's enough to generate plenty of questions, but these housing things, some of those sound small. It takes years. And as we said earlier this evening, it's no secret, we have a complete housing crisis in the city, in the state, in the country. And those are just becoming more and more difficult on multiple levels. So happy to, I don't know how we did on time.
You did
Jack, but
great.
I think we got in under the 20-minute wire.
We definitely have time for a couple questions.
Great. It's a lot to throw at you, and I'm sorry for those who are on the screen. But there was a small Wadsworth PowerPoint as well. And just because and Zach, I think that was sent to you as well, was it? Maybe that was not. We will send it.
Okay, and I'll share it. And I will share also Jeannie's PowerPoint too, with the group. So sorry about the glitch with the PowerPoints there, everybody. Okay, Karen's got a question.
So I just want to thank you both for your support of public education. My children attend in Albany. I know that some of them at McDonald, and that you, Ms. Fahey, that both Assemblywoman Ms. Fahey, that you've been serving in Albany on the school board, and that all of your work continues to echo and the district continues to improve. And to that point, I am interested in, I live in the Eagle Point neighborhood, and so the transformation of the 1960s suburban layout, that's intriguing. I've been driving through and noticing, I know there's new school bus routes and there's a new CDTA rapid transit route that's been going to go through the campus from SUNY Albany. And I've noticed the new sidewalks that have been put in over the bridge that goes over 85. And I'm a huge proponent of walkable cities, bikeable cities. And I live on Russell, and I've been seeking having sidewalks placed there in Berkshire. And I will say the school district too has recently been sending a tripper bus to North Albany and Hackett down Berkshire Boulevard, which is actually fantastic, and the kids don't have to walk as far. And hopefully it will make big difference. But that just shows what a corridor that is, and so it's intriguing. I guess I'm interested very much in that vision of the Harriman campus and the impact it would have, because there's a lot of land that isn't built on. It's just open, and then there's roads, and so I'd love to hear more about that.
Just as briefly as I can be, thank you on that. And I appreciate that the construction that's going on around Breviter right now is really tied to the bus rapid transit, the BRT that's going to be going through the SUNY campus and Harriman to, and not on Western, as you know, which is a little disappointing that we weren't able to work out some type of compromise there. But so that is separate. What's happened with Wadsworth, even though we've had these conversations over and over, obviously we've had a change of governor, but we spent so long fighting to keep the labs in Albany. Then it became Harriman. And then we had to fight to keep the money because the former governor also knocked the money out of the budget because I think he kind of lost interest and there was some interest during COVID to move it downstate as we picked up. So all the fights were focused there. We are now trying to regroup. We've briefed multiple state agencies. We've now asked the governor's office for a working group so that we can really talk about that eastern end of Harriman to again reintegrate it. If you look at some of the PowerPoint, the couple of slides, they're very hard to read. And again, I apologize to the audience. But some of this goes back to conversations because there are no new ideas. Some of this goes back to conversations from 2007 with the former Harriman study group. While we have a different approach, one of the approaches that was talked about at that time was make it grid-like. In other words, streets to connect some of the major streets to Albany. We just have to make sure, back to John McDonald's words, we have to make sure that these economic development investments, this $750 million is the single biggest public investment in the capital region since Global Foundries and the Nano College, the CNSE. We have to make sure that this is not just going to benefit.
Right.
And plus, we know what's going on nationally with recruitment of talent. If you're going to recruit talent, we know millennials understand and want walkable, multimodal communities. So we have to think differently. But this has been a long time coming and we are really just trying to start. If we had our druthers, we would have had all those conversations before the breveter construction started, but we're not trying to impede anything. We're not trying to impede Wadsworth. One project does not need to preclude another. But we have to think differently about, plus, I don't know, I hear it from people there. If you live in the Alexandra apartments, you take your life in your hands every time you get on Harriman and, get on those loops. And I worked up there 5 years. I still get it wrong at times when I'm going up. So that's probably too long an answer, but hope there's others.
Anybody else have questions?
Great question. Thank you. Oh, gosh, I hope we didn't talk that fast.
I hope you're all not snoozing.
I'm going
on
to pick
TV.
on Luke or Keith or something if somebody doesn't come up with a question quickly. Please feel free because I know there is a lot and we barely touched on so many issues and I apologize. I should also just say we just had a large meeting regarding Central Avenue and the need to make changes there to benefit, to reinvigorate that, given some of the problems, some of the crimes, some of the drug use, on and on and on. So we were at it without saying too much. We are very, very focused on Central Avenue and being of assistance there to the mayor, the police chief, and others. So those are the types of casework, for lack of a better term, but there's a lot of other things that are not budget related. We just pulled this to
Got a couple hands up.
There's so many things.
Got a couple hands up. We got Pat Maxon.
So I see, no surprise that Ed would be asking about the Livingston Avenue Bridge, Mr. Cyclist himself. We are, it's moving along. DOT, as you know, had hearings back around April's, right towards the end of the budget, if I remember correctly. Right, and in March, they had their first hearing, but now they're going to be getting the contract out to try to get things going with the consultants. So I don't think there's really too much to update at this stage of the game. As one who also represents Rensselaer, I can tell you that Rensselaer actually has their own plans that are going to meld in nicely to make sure that one of the biggest things that for 10 years, Pat and I have been representing Albany together, we've been talking about is that pedestrian and cyclist access has to be the priority on this bridge, other than making sure it stands up. So that's what we've been focusing on.
Pat, did you have a question?
Sure. I think it kind of goes along with exactly what you were just saying. Those of you who know me know that I live in Uptown Albany, right near the Harriman campus. But to get from my house over to doctor's offices and my health insurer and all of that, I can't get there. That I-90 ramp cuts through the next block. So it's not just the folks from the Alexander that would take their life in their hands. Pedestrians from the neighborhood too. So I'm just applauding what all of you were just saying. Thank you.
Pat, I really appreciate that because I know, change is always tricky, but I used to bike. I worked at, some of you know, I used to work at New York Department of Labor. And I used to bike and talk about treacherous, trying to go past those ramps and over 90 there.
Exactly.
It was treacherous, and you're right. It's absolutely, and I still get it wrong. I mean, if you're coming off I-90 to get on one of the, anyway, I can't believe, I still say 5 years and I still get it wrong. So
it seems like it would seem like a very short walk, but it's just not doable.
It's not doable. And Pat, I do hope you'll kind of look at this and there's more we can give you. We are behind. There's no doubt we're behind on conversations. But we've made it clear to the new governor's office that we're not trying to impede progress. We just feel that we can undo 50 to 60 years worth of, that suburban layout. It just isn't working. And this really has to be a benefit to the city of Albany.
If they're going to spend all of that money, I'd like to have us think about what it's going to be spent on. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got more? You got a question?
Yes, first of all, thank you guys so much for all the work you do on our behalf. I know it's a lot of it's yeoman's labor, but we're very grateful. And then I was wondering if you guys could address a little bit more about the Environmental Bond Act and, just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, just technically, we're not supposed to be lobbying for it, just so you know that because that's something that the voters have to make a decision on. It is what I would say is a significant investment in a variety of different areas, obviously in our public spaces, in our parks. A lot of effort on regards to projects that are impacted by climate change. We look at simple things. I mean, being a former mayor, I get all excited about storm separation projects. The CSO project that is like the
Lincoln
big C
Park.
that's being done here in the city of Albany.
Lincoln Park.
I remember talking to Jerry Jennings in 2006 after Dominic Castellero got in my ear and said, Jerry, we got to get this done. And to be honest with you, we are getting it done. It's going to make the Hudson River that much more pristine. And at the same token, save you, the ratepayers, a ton of money once it's separated. So a lot of flood related stuff, a lot of things related to climate change, to be honest with you. And at the same token, we know that from the 2007 debacle, when former Governor Patterson was trying to close the parks. We know that our public parks are more valued and treasured than ever before. So significant investments in that arena by any stretch of the imagination.
I'll just add very briefly, Maura, thank you for the question. It's so hard. I keep turning my back and then I turn my back on the screen, but thank you for the question. There is a lot there. And as Mr. McDonald said, we're not supposed to advocate, but we are happy to send you more information. And one of the key words that he referenced or said is resiliency. We've even added now into the 787 project as we gave our input on what to cover. And one of the key issues there will be resiliency, because if you look at some of the studies on the Hudson, it is supposed to rise, is it 2 feet? I mean, it's some crazy amount. So whatever we do, we have to keep resiliency in mind. So that Bond Act, that there's some really important projects in there on protecting. And I will, one stat, I'm going off memory here, but under the former governor in his first 10 years in office, I think he said it was 50 billion in cleanups of climate disasters that were spent in his first 10 years. And if you compare that to the previous years, there's no doubt you pay now or you pay later. What we are paying in climate-related disasters is, it's disturbing. And I don't think we have near what they are facing with fires out west, with droughts out west. I mean, we have some of that, don't
Temperatures, the
mistake.
heat, the heat.
The temperature, it's, so I don't, I think some of you know, I don't think we can be aggressive enough on the environment. No. Oh, was there another one?
Thank you very much.
I think we're good.
I think we lulled them to sleep.
Okay. And I don't even think we're that much over. Are we there?
No, but thank you very
We didn't get
much
the
to
Medalla
Assembly
Gorilla
members
stick.
Pat Fahey and John McDonald. Next year.
Yes, thank you. And I should add, John has promised he will stay involved. And, you know, we are.
You should explain why you're saying that.
Yes, because for a host of reasons, just because he has done so much work, and we are more effective when it's more than one person. We don't have to agree all the time. Don't
Right.
think we always agree, but we always back people up. If he's doing a healthcare issue and I'm doing an environmental issue, or I'm doing an education and he's doing a housing issue, it is a very important tag team. So he's promised to stay involved in
With
Albany.
redistricting, I will not have the city of
Yes,
Albany.
sorry,
will
I thought
be-
you already said that.
No, I didn't have
Yes.
to. That being said, I'm a firm believer if the capital city fails, the region fails. So I'm in.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
that's
Thank
what
you
I-
very
yeah.
much.
All right, thank you, everybody, and we're happy to follow
Thank you
up.
very much.
Yes, and the
Thank you.
contact info is on that list.
Yes, we'll make sure we get
All
that
right.
out to
Yeah, thank
everybody.
you for the
Thank you very much. Okay, so John O'Grady, do you have a codes committee update for us, sir? Just got to unmute yourself there.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, our next meeting is a week from Friday, our next meeting with Rick LaJoy. And if your neighborhood association doesn't have a representative on the committee and wants one, I just put my email address, or I will, in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Colin.
John, has anything been said in your meetings since last spring with codes officials about changes to the rental registry process?
It kind of comes up in every meeting.
The reason I'm asking is I was in a conference call with Sam Wells, and this is about a month or month and a half ago, and he mentioned rather casually that their office had changed some of the rules regarding the rental registry renewals, and that the amount of time that each inspection was good for had been reduced to, I believe, 24 months from the current 30 months. And that the responsibility of requesting the inspections to keep the units, the rental units in good standing was going to fall on the shoulders of the landlord, not be issued by the codes office, the way it has been happening up to this point. And I was dumbfounded by this information. And frankly, the fact that I hadn't heard anything about it at these CANA meetings surprised me. So I'm wondering if this is something that we need to ask the codes officials to come and do a presentation on, so that we can better inform landlords throughout our neighborhoods about what their current responsibilities are. Is that something you've heard about at these meetings?
I have not. How recently was the conference call that you're talking about?
It was within the last 6 weeks.
Okay. If you don't mind, would you mind shooting me an email and I'll put it on the agenda for the meeting a week from Friday?
Happy to.
That'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Colin. All right, thank you very much, John. All right, so on to a couple of new business items. We do have Arturo Lua Castillo on here to speak for a few minutes. He's a graduate assistant at the University of Albany, in the Office of Sustainability, and he's here to talk about Operation Weatherize Albany 2022.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to talk about our program. This is our second year running now. Last year, we were able to help weatherize 12 homes in the area, and we're looking to hopefully double our operations, reach somewhere between the vicinity of 25 to 30 homes. And a little bit about our program, what we do is we offer a free installation of temporary weatherization measures for people in the Albany city area. It's something that we do reaching out more towards people who maybe can't weatherize their homes themselves, or people in need of a lot of assistance. Maybe they're in an older home. And we're doing this basically to help promote energy efficiency. Weatherizing a home is a really good way to reduce the energy that's needed, and therefore the energy bills that come as well. We're trying to raise awareness as well about energy debt, and overall just try to improve the living conditions of residents in the area. We do this with a group of volunteers. That's our weatherization energy conservation corps, and we train them on campus. Currently, we're looking for people, any energy professionals or anyone experienced in weatherization to help in training. And our application is free and open to homeowners and renters. We just ask that renters sign an additional waiver and just checking things off with their landlord. And I'm open and available to field any questions. I'll send some links to our volunteer sign up and our homeowner and renter sign up on the chat, so you can follow those links. I believe we'll also have the flyer circulating as well, and I can provide that in the chat for those of you who are watching remotely as well. But does anybody have any questions?
Okay. All right, I think no questions for Arturo. Okay. Anybody here? Oh, okay, Arturo, well, thank you very much, sir. Very appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Luke, did you have anything for University of Albany tonight?
Hey, everybody, I'll try and be brief. Can everybody hear me? Yes? Trying to use my, excellent, wonderful. Yes, we're back in session. August 22nd was our first day of class. I'll start off by just saying that we're very concerned about the violence that's been happening in Pine Hills. We attended an emergency meeting with the Common Council member earlier last week in regards to the mass shooting that occurred. We've tried to be as transparent with our students as possible. And that comes in various forms of communication, emails, mass text messages, emails to parents, letting these individuals know, our students know, that the gatherings that are occurring in Midtown are just not safe, and discouraging them from attending in any way, shape, or form. Our off-campus student services staff, our university police officers, myself, have been in Midtown in the last couple of weeks, going door to door, talking to our students that are living in that area of town, and the majority of which, that we spoke to, were scared. They're seeing a lot of individuals coming in that they don't know, and obviously the violence happening, they're worried. We've had a number of students and parents who have asked to pull, their sons and daughters out of that area. I'm very happy to report that this past weekend was significantly better. My own observations being down there on the ground and watching it play out, the gatherings were much smaller. The Albany Police Department, did a great job. They were able to make some significant arrests in that part of town this past weekend. And so we're confident that they are going to be able to get this under control in a very quick fashion. We are trying to do, and I think Marcia brought this up, more programming on the footprint, right? Making sure that we are providing those alternatives for our students that want to socialize late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, finding ways to encourage them to stay on campus, as opposed to having to venture into the city to find, that opportunity. Beyond that, I would also just remind this group, we've been working with the mayor's office as well. For any students that are found to violate our code off campus, and that does include having large gatherings that are disruptive, they are held accountable via our student conduct process. And so working with the police department, we've been able to obtain some citations, and those individuals are working their way through our judicial process currently. Beyond the situation that's happening in Midtown, I would just put out there that September 10th is our first home football game. For those of you that are located close to the Uptown campus, we will have some fireworks that'll be happening during our halftime. So approximately around 8:30. So if you're in the Upper Washington area, we'll be sending out a reminder tomorrow to everybody that's on our listserv. If you'd like to be put on the listserv, if you know anybody that like to be put on the listserv, definitely have them get in touch with me. I can drop my information in the chat. Homecoming is October 15th this year. The Albany Book Festival, which is always a big hit, put on by the New York State Writers Institute, September 17th, 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. in our campus center. So definitely feel free to put that out there. And I want to thank Arturo for presenting tonight on Weatherize Albany. It is a really great initiative, and I would love it if any of you would be willing to publicize that via your own respective listservs. It is completely free. It's a great service. And I think it's something that obviously the university and the city want to work together on and increase participation in this year. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Luke. And next time we'll have you stand up and stay over here because you're off the camera. Sorry, Pat. Next time we'll get him to be in front. Okay. Real quick, in December of this year, CANA will be having elections of officers for the 2023-2024 term. So I was hoping tonight I could solicit a couple volunteers that would be willing to serve on our CANA nominating committee this year. It's not a big time commitment at all. It's basically reaching out to currently sitting members and seeing if they're serving another term. And if there is a vacancy, you can assist and try to fill that vacancy. So if I could get a couple of volunteers tonight, I appreciate it.
I can help, Zach.
Laura, thank you very much. Any other volunteers?
Hey, Zach, it's Joe Kniff. I can volunteer.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Joe and Maura, and I'll be in touch about who's currently serving, and we'll go from there. I'll ask for a report probably at the November meeting. Okay. All right. Is there any other new business tonight, folks, to bring up? Okay, otherwise, let me just talk about some future meetings tonight. Next month, October 5th meeting, it's going to be fully virtual. We don't have the room that night, so don't come down to the library. It's going to be 100% virtual. We're going to have representatives from Northeast New York Coalition for Occupational Safety and Health. And we're also going to have Catherine Costo. She's the Executive Director of the Albany County Historical Association and Ten Brook Mansion. On November 2nd, we'll be back in person and hybrid. I've got Pamela Howard, Executive Director of Historic Albany Foundation. And we also have Andrea Nicolay. She is the new Executive Director of the Albany Public Library. And then in December the 7th, we have Akum Nordero. She's the author of The History of Here, a House, the Pine Hills neighborhood in the city of Albany. And we're going to also have our neighborhood go around and the election of officers. And Marcia, I have a question before we close out the meeting.
I just wasn't sure you knew that October 5th is Yom Kippur.
Okay. Thank you. No, thank you for noting that. That's probably why the library might be closed. Yes, thank you. So, okay. Does anybody else have any questions tonight? All right, we better go because the library is going to close at 8 o'clock. So, but
8 o'clock.
Very much, everybody. Appreciate you attending.
Thanks for everything, Zach. You're a hero.
Okay. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Zach.
It's essentially, I'll send an email blast out and tell you fireworks on the campus.